Those fake scandals covered by the press, there are a lot of them. A ton of reporters, including many White House correspondents, prefer to push conspiracies without evidence rather than ask about real issues. And they don't like it when reporters with a different agenda enter their safe space. In fact, including to one reporter, dissidents in the White House briefing room are resented and bullied for not adhering to a certain line. Caitlin Collins is a White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. She's new to the beat, and she joins us now. Caitlin, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So there was this amazing moment in January. So Sean Spicer, the new press secretary, asked the first question not to the AP reporter, but to the reporter from the New York Post. All of a sudden, there was this uproar on Twitter. Reporters who literally weren't even born when Barack Obama was elected were complaining about the breach of tradition. Why the resentment?
The press is throwing a royal tantrum because they can't control what the country is talking about. For the last 8 years, they've all decided what the question should be, and they've all gone in there and asked the same question. And now that they're not being called on, they can't control what the news is about, and it's driving them crazy. So
you show up there right after the inauguration. You haven't covered the White House before. You don't work at the Boston Globe or the New York Times. What kind of reception did you get?
It's definitely a little tense, but I'm not really there to impress them. I'm there to ask the questions my readers want answered, and I'm not there to ask what they want me to ask. I don't get the questions that CNN wants. I don't get the questions that MSNBC wants. I ask what my readers want me to ask, because outside in the real world where the other 300 million people live, they don't care about, personnel issues that MSNBC is asking.
So you actually took some heat from other reporters when you, at a press conference at the moment when Mike Flynn was having all his troubles, National Security Advisor, you asked a question to the podium about what the foreign policy challenges facing the country are. And what was the response to that?
It was very heated. I got a lot of criticism on Twitter. A lot of people came up to me and asked if the White House told me what to ask, which is offensive. And I asked a big picture question about national security and who we're going to get into a war with next. And that matters more to real people than a personnel question of who's working in the White House. No one will remember Mike Flynn's name by next year.
I think that's totally fair. You're obviously pretty immune to the criticism of your peers, but what effect does it have, that kind of groupthink or that enforced conformity, on other reporters there?
It's definitely not a good mix for that, because then other people feel pressured to ask what everyone else is asking. They look up to someone on their left and they're asking about, wiretapping, so they ask about wiretapping as well. But the point of 75 reporters being in that briefing room is that we all ask different questions.
Right.
If we all go in there and ask the same question 10 different ways, what does that accomplish? Who does that serve?
So the president has attacked the press intensely, like no other president has ever gone after the press like this. What does that do to the reporters covering the briefing every day?
People are a little hysterical about his criticism. Yes, he hates the press. Yes, he's very vocal about it. But what president has not hated the press? We make their lives harder, and they all hate us. They may not all talk about it, but they definitely hate us.
Yes, they do.
So, but people are taking it really personally, and you shouldn't take the president's criticism personally. It shouldn't affect your reporting, but you can tell when you read the New York Times and CNN that it does affect their reporting, and that's not what should happen. I don't take my cues from the president. I report on him. I don't report to him.
So you think that there's a personal element to this? They don't like him because he criticized.
Because he calls them out by their names, and they don't like that, and then they get a lot of heat on Twitter, and then it makes them resent him. Not for his policies and not for not following through on his campaign promises, but for who he is as a person. And that's not your job. Your job is not to get your feelings hurt.
No, that's exactly right. Twitter seems to play a huge role in the attitudes of White House reporters.
It does. It feeds their egos. They like to know how many people follow them, who's praising them. You should not pay attention to anything anyone says on the internet, though.
That is pathetic. Do you see people checking Twitter in the briefing?
Constantly. Everyone's updating it constantly. They're tweeting. It's a big part of it. But that's understandable. The president uses Twitter a lot. It's a new medium that everyone is, refascinated with Donald Trump being in the White House.
Boy, I'm sorry. I don't like that the president uses Twitter. I don't like that reporters use Twitter. I just think it's weird. But I guess I'm not in charge. Caitlin Collins, thanks for joining us, of the Daily Caller. Full disclosure, I helped found the Daily Caller, but no longer have an editorial role there, sadly. Remember Donna Brazile? Last fall, DNC emails published by WikiLeaks revealed that Brazile, while working as a CNN contributor, that's right, a television contributor, helped rig the Democratic primary by forwarding debate questions to the Hillary Clinton campaign. Now, at the time, Brazile refused to admit her complicity. She even suggested the emails had been forged, in a pretty famous back and forth with Megyn Kelly, you may remember.
Well, we begin with some breaking news, a stunning confession from former DNC chair Donna Brazile. Donna is finally admitting to what we all knew all along, that she leaked CNN town hall questions to Hillary Clinton during the campaign. while she, Donna Brazile, was a contributor to the network. Brazile confessed in an essay published in Time magazine saying, quote, "Among the many things I did in my role as a Democratic operative and DNC vice chair prior to assuming the interim DNC chair position was to share potential town hall topics with the Clinton campaign. My job was to make all our Democratic candidates look good, and I worked closely with both campaigns to make that happen. But sending those emails was a mistake I will forever regret." What Donna Brazile did was shameful and treasonous to our political system and stability, even threatening to journalism in America. At least CNN, for their part, demanded her resignation immediately. But let's now take a look at what she told Jordan Sheridan on the street, denying those accusations. Listen.
Do you owe the voters an apology for passing a question for a town hall off to the Hillary Clinton campaign?
Sir, you know what? I wish when you got your facts, you read the emails. And
I did read a lot of them.
Well, you clearly did not read my email, sir. No one has ever shared questions with any of us involved in CNN.
In fact, Greg, Donna Brazile denied it on several occasions, and most recently in February. She said, no, I never received questions from CNN. There's no there. She told Brett Baer, you have misinformation, and on and on.
That's what happens when you think you're going to get away with something. You deny it. I'm married. I know these things. But you know what? You have you have to understand what she did. She elected Donald Trump. Imagine if she hadn't done this, if she had not helped Hillary Clinton get the nomination and Bernie got the nomination. You had mentioned this before. Bernie was a bigger threat because there were more diehard fans for Bernie than there was for Hillary. Bernie was likable. Hillary was detestable. He was probably would have been a tougher challenge. So we could have ended up, thanks to Donna Brazile, we didn't have a socialist president. We could have had a socialist president. She made America great again. Donna Brazile is an American hero.
Round of applause.
And from now on, anytime you cheat in a debate, you got to call it a Brazilian.
Nice.
Multiple.
KG, she went on. In fact, there was a big interview. There was a big back and forth with Megyn Kelly when she was over here, and she said, your information is solely false.
Yes. Well, listen, deny until there is no more ability to deny, and that's what's happened here. But, you know, this is also what candidate Trump then was saying and trying to tell people, listen, this fix is in, they're colluding, this is what's going on. Turns out he was correct, and I admire her for coming clean and telling the truth. I mean, personally, she's a nice person. What she did here, she says she regrets. It's not a good call, and it's not good for the party, but it just goes to show you. Let
me expand this out a little bit, Juan. Let's call it a vast left-wing conspiracy. Hadas Gold from Politico exposed the other guy, Roland Martin. Yeah. Remember, this was a town hall with I think it was TV1 and CNN, but Roland Martin also sent Donna Brazile the question he was going to ask the next day. And guess what happened? Donna Brazile asked that question the next day of Hillary Clinton.
Well, the point here is, one, CNN didn't share it with the candidate. And secondly, this happened among the Democrats. Right. And sometimes I hear Donald Trump say, there goes Donna Brazile. She's the one that was sharing the questions, as if she was giving the questions to Hillary Clinton while debating Donald Trump. That's not what happened.
I don't think he said no. I think he was being very clever. He was actually saying to the Bernie supporters, you got screwed by her.
No, I think he was saying to Trump supporters, I was cheated, and I was cheated by Donna Brazile. In any case, Donna Brazile
I think he said
admitted,
both, actually.
Oh, so you think he said both? That's what
I think he did. He did say that about Bernie Sanders did get cheated.
It is important to note that CNN demanded her resignation. Well, they put her on ice for a while because she became the DNC chair, but then demanded her resignation when WikiLeaks exposed what was really going on. Yeah. And by the way, Juan, we'll let Megyn respond to this, but this is what we know of. We don't know if Donna Brazile was feeding questions
stop with the conspiracy.
Well.
This is it
was a conspiracy.
That's a conspiracy.
I have 2 pages of Donna Brazile's speech.
Corrupt as the day is
long.
How can someone who hides it well?
This is wrong.
What, in the middle of the political season, the most important political time of in our entire year in our lives, she decides to leak and muddy the waters.
She'll never work in politics again. Don't worry.
Her career is over 100%. She has tainted herself. This is a criminal act as far as I'm concerned, leaking questions to a candidate beforehand. Number one, if she is getting leaked that question, it's honest to understand that she was probably getting leaked more questions to the Clinton campaign, and we can only assume. I don't think that's conspiracy theory levels. I think there was probably a lot of corruption going on.
Common sense.
A lot of people, exactly. There's a lot of young Democrats in this country who are angry, who are, just absolutely at the roof that they didn't end up having Bernie Sanders, thought they believed in him. Between her and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, there's a lot of corruption going on.
So here's,
this
is hyperbole. Let me
just finish.
It was hyperbole until she admitted doing it.
No.
It became reality.
Now it's fact.
Here's the reality, and I speak to what Megan was saying. Megan said she's out of politics. Donna Brazile is not out of politics.
Yes,
Donna Brazile is highly regarded as a political operative. If you want to blame someone, you know what? Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, in terms of those emails that were scanned. That's where a lot of the argument. But let me just read. I'm not covering anything. Here's what she's saying. Let me just say this. My job, I'm reading a quote here. My job was to make all Democratic candidates look good, and I worked closely with both campaigns to make that happen. But sending those emails was a mistake.
I want to get Greg in here. Bernie and
I think she has to apologize to Bernie.
Well, that's who she. If that's
who she should. I mean, he's the one who got screwed. He could, and I'm not kidding. He could have been president. I thank God for Donna Brazile. I really do.